You are watching What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, una americana italiana en la República Dominicana since 2013. A teacher at heart, but her curiosity has sparked new opportunities. Director, businesswoman, humanitarian, talk show host. La curiosa directora has decided to become the student. Go behind the scenes to get a closer look at what this country is all about. And Cher is here with you. So, if you love everything Dominicana, stay tuned. This is What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio.
Welcome today, Dr. Marina Bruni. I am so happy to have you here today on What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio. How are you?
Thank you so much, Christy. I'm so excited and thrilled of being here with you, absolutely. And we're going to have so much fun.
We are. I'm so excited. So tell me, so you are considered to be the Global Brain Activation
Strategist.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That's a great question. It's a great question. Okay, what does that mean? It means that, okay, as you know, let me take a step back because I want to really break it down for our listeners. As you know, we are logical beings, but we are also creative beings. And so we are like, we are dual in a sense, because our mind is versed to process things in a duality type of thing. And what I mean is either logical or creative. And so you will see also yourself in your life, in your experience, in your environment. You will have people who are more logical, more analytical, more very much down to the details and processes and all that kind of stuff. And you will also have on the other side people who are more creative, more like tra-la-la-la-la, more emotional. And the thing is that logic and creativity are two amazing gifts. When we use them together in an harmonized way. Because when we use them either one or the other, or in a compartmentalized way, they don't help us that much, because we end up in those situations where we feel stuck, we keep second guessing ourselves, we feel confused, with no clarity, stressed out, because we are not able to make a decision, we are not able to create a choice, we are not able to move forward, because we are very, very much there, and we feel like we seem like doing like a step forward and 2 steps backwards, because literally we are stuck because we can't resolve this duality, this going back and forth, and so we can move forward. So what I'm doing is teaching people how to integrate left brain logic and right brain creativity. So how to activate your entire brain so you can tap in your full potential, and you can also tap into your energetic DNA in order to make more, so you can make more powerful choices, and design and really design the outcome that you want in your business, in a specific situation, in everything that you do. And this is important because if you look, let me give you an analogy in order to make even clearer this dichotomy between logic and creativity. Because what happens is that when we are more logical, more creative, or only logic or only creative, it's like when we go through things like hopping on one leg only.
Right.
Now, if you try and do that, and I would encourage our listeners to do this exercise, try and do that, but not just for 3 seconds. Do it for at least a minute or two.
So hop on one leg for at least a minute or two. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And see how you feel at the end of it. Not even at the end of it, but even like halfway through it. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it becomes painful.
Really good analogy.
Yeah, and using one side of our brain only, one side of our intelligence only, is the same thing. Because yes, logic is intelligence, but creativity is intelligence too.
Right. I think that a lot of people, if they're as they listen to this, they're probably thinking to themselves, and I think in my mind right now too, is that logic always tends to seem to come back into it more so, which I think and maybe I'm wrong, the logical side is a little bit more debilitating than the creativity side, because I think the logical side is the one that when you have a really good idea in your mind, you're the logical side is what says, well, but you could say, oh my gosh, this is such a great idea, but what if it doesn't work out? Or what if it doesn't, the logical side is the one that kind of, you move that one step forward, but it's the logical side that takes you the 2 steps backwards. Is that what you find often with people that you talk to?
Yes, that's usually what happens. I also want to clear the way in respect of a very of a concept that it's being repeated and put out there a lot of very often, especially by spiritual guru, spiritual leader of that type of environment. And the concept that often comes across is that logic, rationality is your ego, basically, is your ego that prevents you from doing what you really want. So we need to put the logic aside. Please don't do that. I mean, this is a very dangerous concept.
Yeah.
Logic is a gift.
Right.
Okay, logic is a gift. I want this to be as clear as the crystal water. Logic is a gift, is not the enemy.
Right.
How we use logic is another story. But logic is a gift, and we've been given that for a reason. There is no coincidence. And so we need to incorporate that logic into our way of being and using it for our benefit, not against us. But please don't identify logic, being a logical being with negativity. And this is the same concept that also applies to the ego, because oftentimes ego gets labeled as the bad guy. And so we need to get rid of our ego in order to experience a higher level of consciousness. Now, I want to demystify this concept too, because this is very important, really, really important. Now, the fact that sometimes our ego gets in the way, that's a fact.
Okay.
The ego is a bad guy? No, absolutely not. The ego is part of us. The ego is that part of us that tells us, okay, hold on a second, where are we here? The ego is a part of us that gets us to be real with things, to get real with things. The same thing as the rationality and as the logic. We need to work together with ego because it's part of us. And so in order to elevate our level of consciousness, we need to work together with ego. We need to work together with logic and with creativity and with our higher self and with our spirituality and everything. But saying and listening to all these gurus that keep repeating the ego is bad, you have to transcend the ego and put it on the side, I disagree with them, because it's not.
I think that I think that they're being mistaken between ego and egotistical and like being selfish. You know, your ego isn't necessarily that you're being selfish. Your ego, I think, is more of self-awareness, maybe a little bit more. And so I mean, without your ego, you don't really know who you are or what you necessarily would want to do. I think it's how you use your ego. If you're using in a sense of being me, I take everything, well, then that's one thing. However, you need to know your ego in order for you to be able to do anything. I think.
Yes, exactly. To master it, also to understand what your limits are, and also to understand whether when you are in this kind of situation where you have to make a choice, have to make a decision, but you don't know which way to go, and then you have this urge, to go to a certain way, a passion, an emotion, and then something else tells you, no, better not. Okay, which one is ego and which one is intuition? How do I distinguish them? I mean, I'm not saying that it's easy to identify which one is ego and which one is intuition, and how to make the all thing to work together. That's why I teach this to people.
That's a good question. Like, how would you decide? You know, you have this desire to do this one thing, but yet you have this intuition to do something else. What do you tell people that come to you how to decipher between the two to make the right choice?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. That's part of the question, because the other part of the question is, when you have an idea, how do you know whether that idea is just something crazy that popped out, or is really an idea that it's something worth it pursuing, is something that that can be pursued, or it doesn't backfire, so it doesn't have any heightened risk, or something which is better say, okay, you know what, that's not a great idea, let's put it on the side. So that's why, and that's why we need to work with both creativity and logic, and we need to have them working together, and we need to master the integration of right brain and left brain as to the latter question. On the other question that you asked before, which is a great question, and I get that asked all the time. The answer is that it comes with time, it comes with practice. I mean, the first thing that I want our listeners today to understand is that this is a process. This is a process, and you need to be okay with that, and you need to be okay with doing the process, because it's something that we all have in ourselves, okay? But we have forgotten about it. We have forgotten how to use it. And so we need to bring it back to surface. We need to bring it back to consciousness. And that's a process. It cannot happen in the space of a moment. It cannot happen from one day to another. And certainly it cannot happen if you don't do your work, because there are exercises, there are practices that I teach in order to speed up the process and make it easier and focused. But of course, you need to be willing to do the work and do the work, because it's something that you have to build up for yourself and within yourself.
Right.
And the thing is that, and this is amazing, that when you do the work and you achieve the mastery, you know it straight away. You don't need to even think about, okay, is this the ego or is this the intuition? You just know it.
Can you give me a scenario, like, for example, without saying names or any, like something that you've worked on recently, or someone came to you that in which, you know, they were really struggling between making a decision, making a choice, and understanding what to do with it, so that maybe that the listeners can understand a little bit more the concept of it?
Yes, absolutely, Christy. Well, that happens all the time, all the time. I mean, in practical, in real life, and when they come to me, I mean, one that the first one that pops to mind is a long-standing client of mine, former client of mine, who wasn't happy with his job, and so he wanted to. He wasn't happy, but he wasn't really unhappy. So it was one of those situations where it was like,
That you're just
but
existing.
yes, exactly. And so he got an offer from a new employer, and it was a good offer. But still, with that good offer and his current job, he didn't know what to do and was like pulled one way or the other and one way or the other. And then he based his decision on exclusively on basically on the salary that he was gonna get. And but still, even when he made that decision, it was like he was trying to talk himself into that decision. I mean, it was really clear to me, but
Right.
it wasn't clear to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we cannot make choices for other people because it's not our experience, right?
Right.
So he made the choice to leave his his at the time current employment and go for the new job. And after 3 months, he realized that he wanted his old job back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but at that time it was too late. Also, because you know how it is when you leave a workplace. I mean, you go back to your old boss, and he says like, "Okay, well, you know what? You made your choice. And I mean, it's too late now, right?"
Yeah.
And that's because he was so conflicted he couldn't make up his choice
Mm-hmm.
at that point. So, and that happened when he was just, I mean, he just started talking to me, and we were going through things, and still he was that conflicted at that time. Is logic practical part about what something that he wanted a raise in the salary. And I think that there was also something kind of emotional behind that, because he had discussions with his old employer, his old manager, about salary raise, and they didn't want to give me a raise in the salary.
Mm-hmm.
So emotionally also that had a play in the entire decision-making process he went through. But yeah, that's one of the examples that I mean.
And I bet right now in the world, a lot of people are probably in this type of scenario. You know, okay, so you know, I'm in this job and it's okay. I don't mind it. However, there's this other job over here and I make more money. And I think a lot of times people do base um, their choice to move into a different position on
Yes.
money, as opposed to on, is this something that is it a step forward for me, or am I just going to go to something else that maybe I may or may not like?
Yeah, but and you know what? Sometimes making decision based only on the amount of money that you're gonna get in your new job or in your new entrepreneurial project or your new project or something. It's, I mean, it's a good decision. It's a good choice. It's not necessarily bad, but in that situation for him, it turned out not so well. And that's probably because that was the only element, together with the rejection
Right.
for an increase of salary that he took into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always about taking a view of all the circumstances and but also about what we really, really want deep down. And that's the point, because in today's society, we are not trained, we are not used, we don't have the habit of doing the inner work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's the problem, basically.
Right.
That is the problem.
I think that people are so, what do you call it? Not the trained, not trained. That's not the word I'm looking for, but into what your life should be, or what it should look like, or what you should have, that they don't ever really stop at some point early on in their life and say, okay, well, what do I really want to do? What am I good at? And what is really going to make me happy? And I think, and then years later, they might come across something like this or whatever. I might say, why didn't I ask myself that question? Or why didn't I think about this sooner? Right? However, it's never too late.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's because nowadays we are driven by the parameters set up by society,
Uh-huh.
by our parents, by our family, by school. And so you have to do certain things by the age of X. You have to study certain things. You are supposed to behave in a certain way. And by the age of by the time you're 30, you have to be married with 3 kids and a nice house.
Nice house, white picket fence, a dog, all that.
Exactly. And so we are kind of, it's like being brainwashed. And so if you are not really used to do the inner work, and you're not really anchored into yourself, into your higher self, you buy into the society's values, into the values of, I don't know, your family, the values that have been taught you as universal values, but they're not universal values because maybe they're not yours. I know for sure that some of the universal values are not my values.
Right. Right. And that's true. It's true. Not all children are made to go to college, and not all children are good at standardized tests. I sure wasn't, but I turned out okay, but that's the thing. And I think especially now with children, especially more so, the pressures that are put on them of what they should be like, or how they should act, or what they should do is really difficult. And I think that that's more pressure than anything, instead of just letting them grow into themselves and think for themselves. We're supposed to just kind of guide them to not get in trouble. However, we end up kind of pushing them, kind of in front of the train.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm not saying that's always intentional, because indeed, most of the time is unconscious.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Most of the time
Because, exactly. And that ties directly to our level of consciousness.
mm-hmm.
And on the flip side, the thing is that when we start conforming what society wants, what our parents want, what the school wants, what everybody else's wants, and we are not able to deliver up to those standards because it's not something that we really want, that we really feel, but we force ourselves. And therefore, because we force ourselves, we depart from what is our energetic identity.
Mm-hmm.
Then we start feeling like a failure, and then judgment and feeling guilty and fear and stress and all that kind of stuff.
And everything else that goes on. I disappointed this person or that, or what are they going to think of me? And I think a lot of people are unfortunately living their lives worried about what other people are going to think, and the criticism, as opposed to what if like I always say to myself, if nobody else was around, what choice would I make? And
Yes.
and you, that's really what's in your inner choice. That's really what you want. If you say, if I didn't have to worry about what mom, dad, this, that person said, whomever, uh, because they weren't here, then what choice would I make? And
Yeah.
and I think that's that's what's helped me a lot in making the right choice, I think, for me anyways. But it's not easy, especially when you have a lot of
No, it's not easy because the external pressure is a lot, and it can be a really hard, really heavy to sustain. And that's also one of the reasons why I do what I do, because apart from teaching, I mean, my students also need some sort of reference point.
right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, some sort of compass that helps them to tell whether am I crazy or is everybody else? Because I mean, if you are not really very much grounded within yourself, I mean, it can be very disorienting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and because a lot of times people don't really, they don't think about it. They're just kind of on autopilot. This is what I should
Yes.
do. This is what I need to do. This is what I get up in the morning. I do this. I go to work. I come home. I take care of the kids. I make dinner. I go to bed, and I get up and I do it all over again.
Yeah. No, exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, which is okay. I mean, I'm not saying leave your job without having anything else on the side. That's not the message at all. What I'm saying is start building
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you want. Because if you don't start, you're never going to get it.
Right.
But do not ditch what you got now before getting what you're building up and running.
Right. Or before you even know what it is that you want.
Yes,
You know, it's like,
exactly.
I don't like this, so I'm just gonna let it go. Okay, but now I'm here and I have no idea where I'm going. Like, that's not the thing. And for some people, what we just said, and I know you're not saying that, you know, that's a horrible thing to get up and go to work and take care of your kids. And so some people, they're completely 100% fulfilled doing that because that's
Yes,
love.
and
And
that's okay.
mhm,
And that's okay. Absolutely, absolutely. The problem is when they're not happy
right.
what they have and with what they do, and they look for fulfillment
Mm-hmm,
outside in the outer world.
mm-hmm. And that's so true. So many people look for,
Exactly. And that's never going to happen because you cannot expect to get something from the outside if you don't have that something already in yourself.
mhm,
That's why the inner work is so important, because you cannot build up an outer reality, an outer game that doesn't match your inner game, your inner work, your inner coherence.
right. We're here talking with Dr. Marina Bruni, and you're listening to What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio. I'm happy that you're here today with us. Can you let's go into a little bit of your background right now. So I know you're from Italy, you're Italian, and that's so exciting because my dad was born in Calabria, so my family's Italian as well. So tell us, how did this journey all begin for you? Because I know you're not just the you know, a brain activation special strategist. You're a lawyer and you have a lot of other things under your belt, so to speak. What else? Tell us how this all started for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Well, as you said, I'm Italian, and I am a lawyer. I'm actually a dual qualified lawyer, and I've been a lawyer for over 2 decades now.
Mm-hmm.
And I come from a family of lawyers. I mean, not only my father used to be a lawyer, but in his family, everybody basically, I mean, yeah, I come from a generation of lawyers.
I'm a generation of teachers, so it's I get that. Like, you know, it's
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that too, because at the end of the day, my parents you also used to be professors. So yeah, so I've combined the two things as well. And the things that I always say when I say that is that being lawyers, working with law in my family has always meant helping people. And I feel very strongly about that because, you know, sometimes often you have this a lot nowadays. You have the stereotype of the lawyer, like the shark who goes after the money and would do anything to win whatever it is that they want to win. So it's never been like that for us. I've been brought up in the way that uh, law was a tool, an instrument to look, search for the truth, to do the right thing and help people. And indeed, even when I was a little girl, I always got upset whenever I was seeing injustice, so people treated no fairly and things like that. So I always had that in me. And so I did my career as a lawyer. I mean, I went to law school. I also and I'm quite proud of that. I also managed to win an internship within the United Nations when I was in law school.
wow.
Yeah, it was, yeah, because I wanted to change the world back then. So it's,
What's the world now?
well, you know what? With the age, I've come to the conclusion that it's not about changing the world. It's about changing yourself. It's about making yourself the person that you really want to be, the person that yes, that you really want to be, and create your own reality. In that way, the world around you will change. But it's not about changing the world because it's not up to me to decide or to make choices for other people.
Right.
I can change my own reality. And I've done that. And
Right.
I'm doing that every day. I create my own reality as I want it. But changing other people's reality, that's not for me. It's for them. It's for them to decide. It's about their free will.
Right. And I think, I mean, not necessarily changing the world, but you are in a sense, because when you help somebody to
Yeah.
live a better life, to live a happier life, ultimately that trickles down into, you know, a happier and a better
Absolutely.
world. So
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. In that sense, yes, I'm spreading my light. I consider myself a light worker. So yeah, I do that absolutely on a daily basis, basically. And so I did my career in law. I became a lawyer, and so I went into corporate. I finance financial services. So that type of environment, very fast-paced job environment, high demanding, and I was going from deadline to deadline, project to project, uh, overachiever. I was an overachiever, and so I never missed a deadline in my career, and that put a lot of pressure on myself,
a lot of stress.
a lot of stress, and my body at some point started to send me some signals that I needed to slow down, but there was always something needed to do, just one more proper thing and one more that. And then at some point my immune system got shot because enough was enough.
What
And
happened?
happened that I ended up at the hospital in intensive care for a couple of days because a cold
Mm-hmm.
turned out into pneumonia overnight, basically. Mm.
Yes, and I think that's important. The reason I stopped you there, because I think that's really key and important. And in people not realizing that they're the overachieving and the perfectionism and the working nonstop and everything, ultimately results in your health. And
Yes.
I don't think people truly, you know, buy into that until something terrible happens, right?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely, absolutely. They might conceive the burnout, but it's not just the burnout. I mean, to me, it wasn't a burnout. It was my immune system that got basically down, and that was the signal. And so, when I was discharged at the hospital, they put me off work for a month.
huh?
Yeah.
Now, was that a blessing, or were you like, oh my God, what am I going to do with myself for a month?
No, no, no. That was certainly a blessing because I was tired. I was exhausted. I was physically exhausted
Right.
completely. So I needed time to recover myself. And also in that time, I mean, I had already started asking myself some questions, but I was still on that race. So I was pushing those questions like, okay, I don't have time now.
Talking about.
Go away.
Anyway,
Go away.
I'll talk to you later.
And so that was the opportunity for me to deep dive into those questions. And so, what do I want? What do I really want? I'm happy. Am I happy with this life? Am I happy with what I'm doing? And then, why has this happened to me? I never got sick. Never got sick. I don't even get flu. And now this, why?
Mm-hmm.
And so all these type of question, and then also the identity question, because of course, until then I was the lawyer, the executive in the company that makes decision, that stops signing on deals that are too dangerous or too risky, the one that delivers, then that does presentation, that signs off on this and that. And but if I don't go to work, who am I? So all these kind of questions. And so I started my journey studying a lot of things that at the time for me were exotic, like meditation. I had never heard about I mean, yes, of course, I heard about meditation, but I never considered it until then. And so I dived deep into meditation and mindfulness and all that type of things. And then I went into neuroscience, neurolinguistic, neuroplasticity, energy, all that kind of things. And a brand new world opened up. And I started implementing all those things because this is also the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Information doesn't change anything.
Right.
Information per se is not transformational
Right.
unless you implement it.
Right.
And so I started right away trying all those kind of things. And it was like a game. It was fantastic. And I was getting amazing results. And then I started sharing all this kind of stuff with everybody around me. And at some point, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, told me, "Well, you know that you should build up a business and start teaching people all these things because the results are amazing. You're fantastic. So you really need to do this."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought a little bit about it. I said, you know what? Why not? And so I started building up that.
Mm-hmm.
On the side, like a side hustle, and of course doing a lot of things, but in a much healthier way for myself. And then things started happening because when you give a when you're very clear in your intention and in your pursuit, things come to you as the opportunity to be in this movie.
Right.
I mean, this past year, basically.
So
And that's how.
I want to go back. So what was the first? So you went in, you started with meditation and everything. What was the first thing that you remember that said, "Wow, I can," or maybe the first book or the first person you listened to that you said, "Wow, like this is a whole other world that I didn't even really consider or know about."
Yes, the first thing that was like at the beginning, I was, this is really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so try that thing for me was kind of a little bit kind of against what I thought it was my nature. So I had to force myself because I was resisting it.
Uh-huh.
So the first thing was because at that point when I also tried acupuncture, and I was having a conversation with this the acupuncturist lady, and he said to me something. Well, you know what? You really need to let go and go with the flow. Just stop overthinking it. Just let go and go with the flow. Doesn't matter what happens, whatever happens.
Right.
Just go with it. And I remember that at the time I was like, I was kind of intrigued by that idea.
Huh?
But at the same time I was putting a lot of resistance because it was not me. So I thought, but that was really something that started triggered everything because when I finally was able to start letting go, I start getting into the flow, meditation became easier and I started enjoying it. And all sorts of things became easier. And also synchronicities started become more and more. And I mean, everything started come together
Mm-hmm.
in a way like, yes, like magic.
Yeah. Yeah. It is like magic. It is.
Yes.
It is. So then let's fast forward. So what year was this that you had this sort of epiphany that you came out of the hospital, you had to take a month off. What year was that happened?
Oh, it was about 10 years ago, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then now fast forward to today, and you have been studying and continuing doing this work, building your own business, sharing all of this knowledge with everyone. And how did you manifest, so to speak, the or attract the thoughts become things? Where did that come from?
The movie, well, that was really something that honestly, it, it shocked me in a great way.
Uh-huh.
But I was basically what happened is that I met Douglas, the director of the movie, in London because I was attending a networking event and he was speaking at that event. And I liked his energy. So I talked to him after the event and he invited me to the following weekend. He was having a 2 days workshop. And so he invited me there, still in London. But the thing is that I had already plans for that weekend and I had a full schedule. So I kind of was, yeah, but you know what? I can't really make it. And then it was really on the opposite side of town. So it was kind of even making an effort.
Right.
But there was something that was drawing me to that event. And so I was kind of pulled in two directions. And I said, okay, you know what? I need to go there. So I reshuffled my entire weekend and I went to that event, which was amazing, by the way. And then he mentioned that the first time that he was also in the movie things, he had done movies in the past and he was working on three, four new movies.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, oh, that's cool. But he finished there. And then Doug and I stayed in contact, catching up regularly, about businesses and entrepreneurial stuff. And then he mentions me that, okay, you know what, this movie thing, how thoughts become things. Now we are doing it, but I mean, we are launching in the next few months. And then he talks to me about the entire project and the movie and the people involved. And while he was talking to me, I was a thought just popped into my mind. I was like, how cool would it be being in that movie? And that's it. I never mentioned that. I never said anything.
Uh-huh.
And then he finished his conversation. Finished telling me about the movie. And I said to him, yeah, I know it sounds very exciting, and that's very important. And as you know, I'm a brain activation strategist. I teach. And he interrupts me, and he goes like, stop it there. You need to be in the movie.
God.
And I was like, oh, wow.
How exciting. Yeah. I mean, and not for nothing, thoughts, brain activation strategist, you definitely need one in the movie, right?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So it's just, the thing is that when you really open up
Mm-hmm.
to all the possibilities and you take action, because you need to take action.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that so many people forget. Like,
Yes.
yes, you can open up, but if you don't act on
Yeah,
it, then there's you can only go so far. So
exactly.
you acted on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that was
That's
your inner, your was that your creative or your logic when you decided to
sorry.
go to that meeting?
The meeting, was just immediate. I knew it.
Mhm.
What we said about intuition. When you master it, you just know it. When you just know it. I just knew it.
Yeah. How do you now? Do you feel that you have mastered intuition?
Well, the thing is, when you master something, it's not just about mastering one thing, because intuition is something that's within you. So when we talk about mastering, it is about mastering everything. So you're all being with all your skills and talents and everything. So because if it's just about one skill, that's not really mastery, because you leave out everything else. But the real mastery is really combining everything together.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. I think that a lot of times people don't necessarily listen to what their inner self is truly saying. So at this moment, for those that hear this, those that listen, those that watch this, how can they start? What is a step forward? What is a step in the right direction for someone to start honing in on getting their left brain, right brain working together?
Yes, that's a great question. And I get that asked all the time. And that's why I've put together a guide,
Okay.
which is free for your listening. So our listeners today. So I want to give you that as a gift. So if you go to my website, www.marinabruni.com, go there and download my free guide on how to design your energetic morning blueprint, because that is the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starts at the beginning. Everything starts in the mind, and the beginning of our everyday is our morning.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we start our day, our morning, constitutes an imprint on our entire day.
Right.
So, and that's the first step. And I have put in the tips and strategies that are very straightforward and very easy. It's not that gonna take a lot of time, but I think don't underestimate them, because they might seem easy, but they are really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I want to mention is the way you begin your day, the way you welcome your day. If you welcome your day with a smile, rather than with a frown, it makes a big difference. So if you, as a first thing in the morning, if you smile even before opening your eyes, but a big smile, like big, that will set you up for the day in a very different and new way. Probably if you're not used to smile, it might be a bit uncomfortable at the beginning,
Right.
but try, do this experiment.
Or something that you know that, or think of something that you know brings a smile to your face to kind of help you create that smile before you wake up in the morning.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. So that's absolutely the first thing. Say thank
on
you.
Your website.
It's on my website, www.marinabruni.com, ready for download. So go there and download it. It's for free.
Great. So that's anybody that's here, that's listening and wants to start and change their mind and change their thought and put the two sides together.
Yes, with fun, because it's all about having fun. I mean, even if you read it, I mean, when you read it, it's not something boring. No, I've got my own sense of humor, so of course you got to like my sense of humor.
And it is an easy read. It is a very easy read. It you know, for people that are like, oh, but I don't have time to read something, like it's not lengthy, it's not long, it's something that you can easily implement without any.
Yes, and about that, I want to say something about I don't have time. Nobody has got time. I don't have time. Time is not something that you possess. But you can make time. When something is important, you make time. If something is not important to you, you don't care about it, you don't want to do it for some reason, you're not going to make time. But please don't say, I don't have time, because that's just an excuse.
Right. And that's true. And
it's true.
Very, very, very true. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time to do that. And I often say, because this is one of the great things, that when parents say to me they don't have time to read with their children, I like, well, don't you use social media? You post on Facebook, you post on Instagram. That 10 minutes that you're using for Facebook or Instagram, you could be using to read with your child, right? They don't like my answer very much. It doesn't go over well. However,
no, exactly, because and then everything goes back to the thing: are you prepared to do the work?
Right.
Because that's for everything, for your child, your family. Because the thing is that we have come to a point, unfortunately, that we want and we demand the result.
Right.
But not everybody is prepared to put in the work. Right. It doesn't really work that way.
And a lot of times I think people think, so, a lot of times people have a stigma against the word work. Like, okay, well, oh my gosh. So if they want to call it something else, maybe it's not work, maybe it's taking the actions, maybe it's, I don't know, transforming your life, however you want to do it, because maybe you don't like, because work kind of signifies something negative for people. However, no matter what you do in life, you have to take those steps and take those actions in order to better it. And it's all about what you want more. But I think the other issue is that people listen to things like this today, or they'll go and read that. They'll be like, okay, I'm ready to get this going. And a week will go by and it's like, you know, and they want instant results. Well, instant doesn't really come things don't just happen overnight and in a moment. And I think that's the other thing in our society that we have come to. Everything is at a moment. Internet, information, calls, video, everything is in that moment. And when you have to wait for something or work on something to happen, and I like to call it like a diet, you know, diets don't work because it's a lifestyle change. It's not just something quick.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so, you know, people really want to change their life and really want to sit down and think about it. You have, other than that, you have your whole program that people can talk to you about, and again, go to your website and get more information.
Yes, absolutely. Or also feel free to send me an email at marina@marinabruni.com.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll have the that posted of during the show, so that this way people can see that and be able to get the information and write you with more questions or anything else.
Yes, absolutely. Please feel free to get in touch. I'm also in the process to launch a new workshop that will be ready in the next few weeks. So,
Oh, wonderful. And what's the workshop called?
I'm still in the process of finalizing, but it's going to be along the line of activate your brain, how to activate your brain and tapping you into your energetic DNA.
Interesting. And what is our energetic DNA? And
Ooh.
can you shorten it down to like a dictionary definition, or no?
I will try and be as brief as possible in the explanation. So basically, what it is that we are energy beings. Okay, we are spiritual energy beings, and therefore we have an energetic DNA that was given to us when our soul was first created or first generated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our energetic DNA is unique to each one of us. It's like our physical DNA, but it's energetic DNA.
Okay.
And it's and the way it's structured is basically it's unique in the way that each one of us has got some specific energetic quality, and that's captured in our energetic DNA. And the way our energetic DNA is structured, I mean, the energetic quality is the way we are meant to create abundance and prosperity on this planet. Now, yes, it's so powerful. Now, what happens is that with our life and our life's experiences, we make choices and we take actions.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that not all the choices that we make and not all the actions that we take are always aligned, coherent to who we are at an energetic level, to our energetic DNA. And when we make actions and make choices that are not aligned with our energetic DNA, we start creating energy blocks and negative patterns that get into our energetic DNA and creates blocks, energetic blocks that we carry out through our life experiences.
Interesting.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Can you give me an example? Like, for example, just like a little short example, like what would be your energetic DNA?
My energetic DNA, for example, my energetic DNA is very much based, I have two primary energetic qualities, which is freedom and communication. So for me, freedom and communication, authenticity is very important to me.
Okay.
Now, if whenever I'm not aligned to these two cornerstone in my DNA, I create blockages. And what that means in practical terms, for example, if something is for example, let's say I decide to put out there a new marketing campaign and I hire somebody to do it for me, because of course I need a professional. Now, even though I hire a professional, if that campaign, if everything in that campaign, the language, the images, the setup, the process, it's not authentic to me, I don't feel it's authentic to me, it's going to be a failure.
Right.
Because it's not aligned to who I am.
I understand. Very interesting. So you're creating a blockage.
You're creating a blockage, and you carry those blockages throughout all your existences, life after life.
Interesting. Very interesting. I like that.
And I also do some very powerful work on that, because with some of my, of course, this is not something that is for everybody, because not everybody is ready for this type of work. But if you are, I really recommend it, because it's very powerful and precise. And so I go look into your energetic DNA, see what your qualities are, your energetic qualities are, and also what are the blocks and restrictions that are coming up and that you are ready at an energetic level to release. So I do some energetic clearing. And then in order to anchor that and to make a plan so that you can really leverage those qualities, of course, I have students, I work with my students in order to make a plan and actionable plan, action points based on what they want to achieve, making sure that is aligned to who they are energetically.
Wow. Very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. Basically like deciphering who you are inside.
Yeah. And see, most of the time, how many times we hear business coaches and marketing experts and gurus says, oh, it needs to be authentic, it needs to be you need to do it with integrity. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Because I've also spoken with people who said, well, but you know what, I am authentic, I am honest, and I do that with honesty and integrity, but still I don't understand why. That is why, because the human concept of integrity, honesty, and authenticity is not the concept that is relevant here. It's the energetic concept. So we're talking about energetic authenticity, energetic integrity, and energetic honesty. I'm not saying that we need to throw away
right.
Okay. But what I mean is that
there's another step to it.
Yes, there's another, it's another level completely.
That goes deeper
and once you unlock that, it's so powerful.
Wow, very interesting. How wonderful. I want to thank you so very much for being here, for doing this again with me today. I really appreciate it. I hope that the audience gets out of this what I did, which was lots of great information and good stuff, and I really wish you all the best and hope that you continue doing all of these great things for everybody else.
My absolute pleasure, Christian. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoying being here.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Hey, this is Dr. Marina Bruni, also known as the Global Brain Activation Strategist. I wanted to invite you to this very cool and powerful movie about the power of the thoughts and the mind. The title of the movie is How Thoughts Become Things, and I want to see you there.